So we're going to kick this off with Dr. Matthew Cooper, who's the director of our kidney transplant program at the University of Maryland Medical Center. He's also an associate professor of surgery at the University of Maryland School of Medicine. And so, Dr. Cooper, would you like to begin a little bit?
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to have you here. As Ellen Beth said, this is a really exciting day for us. We take great pride in what we do here at the University of Maryland in the Division of Transplant. We seek to provide opportunities for patients who oftentimes present at other institutions and told, I'm sorry that there's nothing that we can do for you, or unfortunately have to realize that the waiting time for a kidney transplant here in the United States averages about 3 to 5 years. There are many people, however, who have come to understand the benefits of living donor transplantation. We take the understanding, we take the appreciation, and we understand the risks associated with someone who, with no expectation of reward for themselves, wishes to come forward to donate the gift of life to somebody else. So our standards for living donor transplant are extremely high, meaning we always want to be certain that we never injure one person who is interested in helping someone else out, but we also appreciate the desire on the part not only of the recipient, but also of the donor who wishes to see their loved one either free from dialysis or to avoid the troubles of dialysis, because we know that dialysis really does rob people of years of life. So we're honestly always looking for opportunities for our patients. And when we talk about living donor transplants, we also have to appreciate that of all those that come forward who are interested in being living donors, at least 1/3 of those is going to be blood type incompatible with their donor, with their recipient, meaning that we're unable to do that transplant because the immune system will automatically recognize that kidney as being troublesome, and the kidney will be automatically lost. In years past, that's what we had to tell the donors and recipients, and I'm sorry that there's nothing that we can do for you at this time. You unfortunately have to wait for that 3 to 5 years for a deceased donor transplant, or we have to look for another donor, and that's not always an option. About a year ago, we embarked upon a program of paired kidney exchange, which, as you look back now, it just seems so obvious, but at that point it was a large undertaking. But again, this institution and this division of transplant and this University of Maryland is highly committed to its patients, and we obviously understood that this needed to be done. And what that simply means is that a donor and recipient who come forward to this institution with an incompatible donor, either through blood type or because they have a positive cross match, which means that, again, the recipient cannot immediately receive the donor's kidney, rather than saying to them again that there's nothing that we can do, we enroll multiple pairs of those patients into a database, and we look to find ways in which we can provide donors and recipients for those pairs, and everyone benefits from really the value of living donor transplantation. About a little over a year ago, Mr. Feldman came to us, interested in obviously looking for the gift of life through kidney transplantation. He's been on dialysis for over 5 years. I'll give him the opportunity to tell you what that's all about, but it's important to appreciate that we are always looking to try and transplant people as soon as possible, because we know dialysis itself is immunosuppressive. It's a horrible quality of life for people in that they have to spend a large portion of their week at the dialysis center, and it really takes away a lot of joy. At that time, we told him again that we would love to be able to find him an option through living donation. His wife, Frances, came forward as an interested living donor. Unfortunately, we found at that time that they were, again, blood type incompatible. At that point, we inquired as to their interest to participate in the paired exchange program, and they were very interested in doing so. And on the 22nd of December, so an early Christmas gift, we were able to find a match for Mr. Feldman through this complex database that we in part cooperate through with Johns Hopkins Hospital across the city of Baltimore. With that, I'd love the opportunity to introduce you to Mr. David Feldman, who is our recipient. and give him a chance to tell you about his experience.
Well, my name is David Feldman, and I was 64 years old yesterday. My right kidney failed due to cancer and was removed. And about a year and a half later, my left kidney also began to fail due to a restricted blood supply. So I went on dialysis. I spent 3 years on hemodialysis, 12.5 hours a week hooked up to a machine. And the last 2 years I was in peritoneal dialysis, which is a form of dialysis that you do at home. It's done overnight, but it's also very restrictive. My wife and I couldn't go anywhere for any length of time without making tremendous plans in advance and having dialysis centers in different parts of the country ready for me, or having huge trucks come and drop off dialysis supplies. About a year ago in September, I came up to the University of Maryland because I have several other medical problems that made other hospitals rather leery, and Maryland takes some of those things into account. We did the pre-transplant testing on me. It was thorough. It took a total year to do it. They also took a year, because my wife, we hoped to be a potential donor, it took almost a year to have the transplant testing done on her, because since she wasn't compatible with me, her kidney, she is part of the what could be an infinite chain. Her kidney is going to go to someone else when they find someone else who is compatible. So, needless to say, there's a great effort on the part of the University of Maryland to make sure that her kidney is in great shape. I came in here on the 22nd, which you may recall was 2 days after the big snow. I was scheduled with another surgeon who went missing in a snowdrift. Fortunately, Dr. Cooper did get trapped in the hospital. And he did my transplant on the 22nd. I believe he also did 2 or 3 others that day, didn't you?
We try and do them in pairs.
Right.
That's right. Keep our hands busy.
I guess the surgery itself took about 2 hours. I was in the recovery room for a while. I went back to the room, to my regular room. The care here was absolutely superb. I was up and out of bed walking the halls the next day. The pain, it's a good-sized scar if you'd like to see.
This is G-rated now, come on.
Yeah.
This is a G-rated show.
But it's a nice scar. I won't be wearing a Speedo anytime soon. But I also had a catheter removed at the same time. I was in the hospital here for about a week. I was then returned home, and I've been recovering ever since. If you'd seen me before, I looked like the cadavers they sometimes take kidneys out of. Now I'm feeling pretty good. My wife and I are planning our first 2 trips. And I just hope to continue to make progress. Now a word about the donor, and I may cry at this point. It's about the most selfless act I've ever seen. The gentleman apparently went to Johns Hopkins and said, I want to donate a kidney, and I want to do it before Christmas. At which time I got a call from the hospital here, and they said, December 22nd. I hadn't believed it was really ever going to happen. I was resigned already to shorten life due to dialysis and in end-stage renal disease, an aptly named disease. I'd never heard of intermediate renal disease. And when I heard that, I just couldn't believe it. I still can't quite believe it. I did know who the donor was through an article in my local newspaper. He had really wanted to give the kidney to a 24-year-old lady, but they were incompatible. Hopefully she will get a kidney soon. Took the kidney out at Johns Hopkins. They brought it over here on the 22nd. Dr. Cooper looked it over and made sure that it was good, and they put it in me, and I believe it began to work. It pinked up, as they call it, and it began to produce urine, and I've been on the recovery path ever since. I'm really looking forward to meeting this altruistic donor today. There are other things I know about him at this point which lead me to believe that kind of generosity and selflessness is a basic principle of his life. So that's it.
As Mr. Feldman pointed out, what's truly selfless and remarkable, not only of all our donors, one of which is sitting beside us. As Mr. Feldman pointed out, his donor came forward truly interested in just donating a kidney to anyone. We call that a non-directed donor. So there wasn't an intended recipient truly on his side. He said, I want to donate a kidney to someone. And it just is a remarkable thing. If you can take a second to think about that. Someone said, I can save someone's life by donating a kidney.
Ms. Feldman, I know you wanted to give your husband a donor, but isn't it amazing this one man saved your husband, and now you can save somebody else?
Yes.
It's pretty admirable of you.
Thank you. I don't really see it that way, but I just see it as something I can do for him. I don't see myself quite in the same light as his donor.
We call every one of our donors heroes. They never accept the title, but they absolutely deserve it.
Don't you have some reservations, though? I mean, it is your body. I mean, I know you love your husband dearly, but do you have some hesitation?
No, people ask me that, and I never really had any hesitation. I'm hoping that Dr. Cooper will do it because I have complete and total faith in him.
And how about the difference in your husband from your view?
Well, he looks a lot better. He's right about that. It's only a month since he had the surgery, so he's not doing jumping jacks yet. But I'm very hopeful, and every day he's got a little more strength, and I'm really looking forward to having a much more normal life.
And where are you guys going on trips?
Well, we had a trip planned about a year ago that we couldn't take, just a weekend trip for our anniversary to Charlottesville. And then we have a grand trip planned to Turkey.
Dr. Cooper,
As soon as they say we can go.
Would you like?
Can we take I really would like the opportunity to meet Mr. Blatchford.
Take around the mics if you can.
Yeah.
You want me to-
Mr. Blatchford?
How's that?
I'd like to meet Mr. Feldman and his wife, Frances.
Thank you.
Family.
His family as well, I apologize. Please, come on in, please.
Oh.
Hello. Hi.
You were like?
What to say?
I didn't want to do that.
Thank you.
You want a hug?
Yeah. And I gotta give you a big hug too.
So this is not the first time that many of us have met Mr. Blatchford. I've read about him in many different respects. I'd love to give him the opportunity for him to tell you his story. Please.
Well, I had been thinking about being an organ donor for some time, and this past January I read about a young woman who's 24 years old who needed a kidney. And so I volunteered to donate for her, but I wasn't a match. And then I found out that there are tens of thousands of people who are going to die if they don't get kidneys. So I just decided that I would go ahead and do it and just make myself available. And of course I didn't know who I was going to donate to, but very glad that I did it.
So am I.
What was it in your heart or in your spirit that brought you to this?
Well, I'm a Christian, and Christ teaches that we should love our neighbors by helping them whenever we can. And I saw this as an opportunity to really love my neighbor.
What have you felt afterward? Any regrets, or do you feel better in your heart about it?
I really like the idea that I could save somebody's life. And it's been a bit of a recovery. I'm still tired, and you know what that's like. But I'm getting stronger, and just knowing that there's someone out there that I could help, that's very satisfying.
Tell us a little bit about you. I see you have a beautiful family. Where do you live? I didn't know that town. It didn't come to my mind right away. Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, Millington is this huge city, out in Kent County. We have about 600 people. Kent County on the eastern shore, it's about as far as you can go without being in Delaware.
And what do you do?
Well, I actually work in Annapolis. I work for an advertising agency there.
And what did your family, are these your children behind you?
Yes.
What did they say about it? Were they behind you on this, or your wife said, don't you dare?
Well, my wife, of course, she was more concerned about it than I was. But we went to the donor coordination program and just heard about the risks, and the risks aren't really all that great. There's no change in lifestyle afterwards. The recovery is not all that bad. And so after she got her questions answered, then she was pretty comfortable with it. And the girls, yeah,
What lesson do you think they have gotten as you as a parent doing this for children to see you do this?
I don't know. What do you think, Leanne?
I definitely think that somebody it's a great experience because he's saved
Come
a
up
life.
and stand next to your dad and say that real quick, just because we can't see you and hear you. It's Leanne, right?
Yeah. L-I-A-N. I hate when people spell my name wrong.
L-I-A-N?
Yes.
Okay. So, and is your last name the same as your dad?
Yep.
Okay, so what were you saying?
I was saying it was a great experience. He saved a life, and now we met new people. So I love meeting new people.
What do you think of Mr. Feldman? He looks good, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
You should have seen me before.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if I wanted to, though.
No, I'm not sure you did either.
You look a lot better than I figured you'd look.
Yeah, I was on the decline. I was on the rapid decline. They always told me that would happen, but you think you're going to live forever. But I was getting progressively worse, and it just is a very strain on all of your systems, and it begins to take its toll of all of your systems. And I never thought that would happen to me was going to happen. I was getting on in years. I had other health problems, in part due to the kidney problem, and when they told me the 22nd of November, it still hasn't sunk in, and what you did, I think in a way it'll change my life, because I just really accept, in war movies, I haven't ever seen that kind of selflessness, and I have to say, in all honesty, given that you have 2 kidneys and that I probably wouldn't have considered doing it, but now I've given some thought to what I've got to do with the rest of my life. Okay, that's a little more helpful to other people than what previously I had been. I've been like most other people, living pretty much for myself and my family and my kids, but not the wider spectrum. And when confronted with someone like this, whom I didn't even know, you begin to reflect. You begin to reflect. So thanks again, a million. Fran, do you have that? Oh, we left it. We have a thank you card.
Well, we didn't know what to do, and we knew that an actual gift would be inappropriate and wouldn't really say much, but we are making a donation to the National Kidney Foundation in Mr. Blatchford's name, just as a token of our gratitude.
You have children and grandchildren we didn't hear about.
I have 2 children. They both live in Boston. Both of them had been preliminarily tested. They both were willing to donate, but they were not compatible. I also was very ambivalent about having them. They're 29 and 30 years old. I was a little bit ambivalent about having them give me a kidney. Not that I wouldn't have taken it, but they weren't compatible.
Mr. Blatchford, how old are you?
I'm 51.
And that story, was it in your local paper? Was it a local girl, or?
Yes, it was in the Annapolis Capital, and she's an Annapolis resident.
One of the things I wanted to point out that Mr. Blatchford talked about, is the ability for living donors to actually get back to their normal lifestyle rapidly after this operation. We do our donor procedures now through a minimally invasive technique. In fact, here at the University of Maryland, we're now doing our donors through a single incision. So we make an incision through the belly button. About 2.5 hours later, we remove the kidney through the same incision. The donors are in the hospital for a maximum of 48 hours. And really the only physical limitation is no heavy lifting for about 4 weeks. But other than that, people live the same life they lived before the donation. We encourage them actually to do the same thing that they were doing, at the same time brag about being an organ donor. Because that's the message one of the messages we hope to get forward with this meeting, is that living donation allows people to bring the gift of life and to continue to live their own life. We have high standards for our donors. We would not put donors in harm's way. That there are people that, unfortunately, in this country are dying from renal failure. And we have the opportunity to make a difference, to find answers for those people. And living donation is one of those. And again, if people are able to do it, not only physically, but I think if you look around the room, the emotional impact it has, not only on the people sitting in these chairs, but everybody around us, and it's a good story, and sadly, we need good stories.
Do you mind standing up a little close to the mic and just tell us
Please.
your thoughts about this?
Oh,
Here you go.
You want to sit down?
Please sit down.
okay.
And what is your name? I'm sorry.
My name is Beverly.
Same last name as your
Yes. Yeah. And I'm just proud of him. It's something he wanted to do, and as long as he wanted to do it, I never questioned him on it. I just supported him. So,
And of course, she's been the one she's had to take care of me since then.
yeah. So, the hardest part is getting him, being a strong, healthy male, getting him to listen to the doctors and getting him to rest. He tends to overdo it. But that's just, he's learning.
So he thought he might as well fix up the house or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm off for a couple of weeks. Might as well build a garage.
He went back to
Get
work,
on it, Doc.
you know,
Yeah,
like
right. Your honeydew list.
10 days after the
Yes,
surgery, and it's like, take some time off.
But you weren't really worried, were you?
No. A little bit, but not much. I knew they'd take good care of you.
How bad did I tell you with my art teacher?
Sorry?
How old are your daughters?
Leanne is 13, and Mayanne is 10.
Say hi.
Just so everybody knows, this is but part of our living donor team, the gang that's spread across the side of the room. It's important to appreciate that it takes a tremendous number of people to make this happen. A tremendous number of wonderful people to make this happen. We have a great team here at the university. Well, living donor transplantation is a way in which people can help one another out. They can make a difference not only in another person's life, but I think our donors would say it makes a difference in their own. So think about living donation. It provides new life to people who really need your help.